Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Nice to see you all. Welcome again to our great, we're not calling it a
We're not
stream.
allowed to talk. Yeah, we're not allowed to. It's a show.
The show. Well, welcome back to the show. So good to have you. My beloved Sarah, how are you?
Good. Very, very, I'm intrigued by this Board of Peace thing, but I think we're going to talk about that a little bit today. I do have homework I have to share. We have a couple of quick promos. We published an interview with Russian State Duma member Alexander Mikhailovich Babakov on our YouTube channel. Check it out if you haven't already. We also published a interview with a Venezuelan politician also on the channel. If you're interested in short tactical battlefield breakdowns, take a look at our new channel, which is Our Tactical. We launched with some of our friends. Links to both are in the description below. And my assignment is now complete.
Yes. Good work.
A really good guest today. I think people are pretty excited.
People are excited. People have asked for him. I, of course, know
by
him.
name. They've asked for him by name.
By name. They've said, we want him. So I said, okay. I reached out and finally we were able to be joined here on the show by former U.S. Army officer, Donbas born and bred Stanislav Krapivnik. Welcome. Great to have you. We're so happy that you're here. And I hope you're enjoying this festive time of year so far.
Well, festive, if you mean the three-ring circus that Trump was creating, yeah, it's definitely entertaining. Every day is a new experience.
That's for sure. Well, let's get right into it. First of all, before we get into the day's news, you've been doing a lot of great work over the past few years in the Donbas. You've been doing a lot of humanitarian aid. You just were down there with Colonel McGregor's son. Tell us about your experience in recent months going down there, what's been happening, and what you're seeing on the ground at this point.
Well, so I arranged a trip. We went down there. First of all, we went to Mariupol. And I can tell you, every time you go to Mariupol, it's amazing just how much of that city has been repaired. Through one of the guys that went with us, Konstantin, he got us in to see the leadership of HEGEMONY Поставщик, which is the main construction company that also organizes all the other construction companies for restoring Mariupol. I'll just begin with what they don't restore is privately owned buildings, such as single residency buildings, factories that are owned by private ownership. That's up to the insurance companies and the people. They usually get money to rebuild it, but with the single residency buildings, the big problem is a lot of the owners are dead because the Ukrainians were shelling all these buildings, particularly the ones that are across the marshlands from Azovstal. Those buildings were all, I mean, you're talking about 150-year-old buildings, 200-year-old buildings that were all just basically level. A lot of those civilians didn't make it. They were sighting their heavy weapons. They're sighting their sniper rifles on civilians and so on. As for everything else, the multi-family, multi-story buildings, which are your main residential buildings in any modern city, 98% done. 98% repaired, people living in them. Lots of greenfield construction from absolutely zero that's been built up, including a really big children's hospital. There's 60-something buildings left, at 2%. They were all on the very first and second line of defense of the Ukrainians in Mariupol, so they got the most damage, and they're being repaired right now. The aim is to have 100% done. And in some of those buildings, people are living, by the way. They're living in the less damaged areas, and it's being repaired. The aim is to have these buildings done at 100%, the residentials, by the end of the first half of 2026. Lots of new sports facilities, parks. I mean, quite literally at this point, the parks have been renovated. New parks have been set up with exercise zones. There's a huge sports school with Olympics swimming pool, giant gym. And we went. I mean, I walked the halls of all these buildings. So I saw this in my own eyes. And they're also building the same types of buildings now in In Donetsk and Makeyevka. Makeyevka is a suburb of Donetsk to the east. So, and those areas still get occasional rocket fire coming in, and construction is going up. Donetsk, well, what can I say? The real estate in Donetsk is now about as expensive as in Moscow. And considering they get water once every 2 days for a couple of hours, that's saying a lot, because not only did the Ukrainians for years destroy any pumping stations, they blew up any of the heating stations, electric stations, so on. They also cut them off from the Dnieper River. And that area is relatively dry compared to other areas. So it needs the canal from the Dnieper River. And we're talking Donetsk, we're talking a city over 1 million people. So all the Ukrainians are moaning and whining about, oh, it's just so hard. We're in Kiev. We don't have lights. Well, yeah. Well, you were laughing at the people in the Donbas who for 12 years have lived under these conditions. You were celebrating that and laughing about it. Now you're getting a little bit of a taste of your own medicine and instant spineless whining. I mean, instant spineless whining. How do you survive? Well, you know, put up a white flag, go over and ask the people you've been bombing for 12 years how they survived. So that's Donetsk is going back up. There's lots of repairs, though there are damaged areas, new damage. You know, I hadn't been in Donetsk in about, when we arrived, I hadn't been in Donetsk in about 2 months, and came back, and there were new destroyed buildings in center of Donetsk, here and there, that HIMARS rockets had landed on. Civilian buildings. And then when you get to Western Donetsk, that area is, I mean, it gets hit every couple days. And they get longer range drones in. There's a lot of damage. And people continue living. They've done that in other parts that I've been in where, you know, the front line is the other side of the street, like Gorlovka as an example. You know, I was videotaping a report on a market that got hit right before the market opened. The body of the conditor was still laying behind me, just covered up because nobody's going to come and get him, because there's an American Paladin riding around there somewhere, popping up 155s in that direction. There's an artillery dude trying to track it down and destroy it, and there are drones in the area, and us stupid enough to go out there and videotape and record all of this. But these people live with this every single day. In fact, you know, Gorlovka, those areas. You walk around, you get these 10-story apartment buildings. The buildings themselves haven't been hit per se by, say, artillery, but every so often you see an apartment that's burnt out. And what that is drone operators. They'll fly a drone up to the windows, see if anybody's inside, and then smash the drone into that apartment window to blow the civilians up. So you see that all over the place. So, and you can't say, you know, well, we were firing artillery at this target, the wind blew, it came off target. Oh, these are drone operators who are looking at their victims in live, in real time. I guess they're getting off on murdering women and children. So, yeah, those drone operators don't normally get taken prisoner, if you understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so that's that area. Then we went to further on to Avdiivka. We didn't go further in Avdiivka. I didn't realize I need to get special permission for Cameron, because he's not a Russian citizen, to go further. We went to Avdiivka, wound up being in Avdiivka when there was several drone attacks. We're walking around with body armor without a helmet on, like everybody else. They took out a drone, FPV drone, one street over from us. And then later on, there was a big flight of drones. The battle lasted about 15 minutes. Everything heavy machine guns are popping off, 12.7 or 50 cals were popping off, and everything else until they took the drones out. So and this is every day. But the interesting part about Avdiivka, which you're not going to see, not in America, not in Europe, you're not going to see it most likely. Well, you may see it in China, but you're not going to see it anywhere in the West because the people are of a different caliber. In all this, with every day, you know, talking to locals, every day they get drones flying in. 6 buildings that were fully repaired. These buildings weren't catastrophically hit. They had holes in their walls, but they were bricks, so they bricked them up. Did the balconies, the water, and the heat, and people moved in. New repairs going on all over the city. Stores opening up, and again, this is every day. They've got flights coming in from the Ukrainian side, and even one new building that they put up since August. It's 100 meters long. 6 stories high, and they were finishing on one end, putting in window panes and balconies. And again, these people are working in a hot. These aren't military engineers. These aren't military construction. These are civilians, civilian construction. They're working in a high-risk environment with flights coming in constantly, every single day. And they're working to fix the city back up. You cannot crush the will of people like that. No matter how much the West hopes, wishes, reads tea leaves, it ain't going to happen. There's people that are willing to risk their lives to put up buildings while the war's still going on. What are you going to do to these people? Most you can do is kill them, and they're not too afraid of that.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Where do you see, so you've had these experiences now, we're seeing, I also was in Mariupol just a little bit before you went and saw very similar sites and got to go to some of the new buildings. Where do you see the special military operation going now? So we are moving on all fronts. It looks like the Russian army continues to advance. Where do you see the short-term, medium-term, long-term of this special military operation from here on out?
London, France, Berlin, Warsaw, and maybe the Ukrainian border. And you know what? You laugh, but okay, let's do the logic stream here. Let's quite literally do the logic stream. This will go on until you reach a group of people that don't want to shoot at you. Okay, so Russia takes Kharkov as a buffer, and the people living in Kharkov become what? They become Russian citizens. So they're getting shot at from the Poltava province next door. What's Russia got to do? It's got to defend the citizens. So it pushes out that buffer zone further. What do those civilians in those areas become? They become Russian citizens. They're being shelled. And believe me, they will be shelled, just like we've seen people, Ukrainians in Zaporozhye and Kherson, being murdered by the Ukrainian government. They keep giving, they're our citizens. So we'll just burn them alive on New Year's Eve and drive drones into their cars and hit their villages on a daily basis. Which really, anybody that's still waiting for Ukraine, that has a tendency of really resetting his mindset real quick. Who your friends are and who's trying to kill you and your family. So, again, where do we stop? We stop when we reach somebody that doesn't want to fight. And if that means Dnieper, that means Dnieper. If that means central western Ukraine, it'll be central western Ukraine. If that means Warsaw, it'll be Warsaw. If that means Berlin for a 4th time in less than 300 years, then Berlin becomes our city. We're not giving it back this time, damn it. It's all old Slavic areas anyways. The Sorbs used to be the majority of the population in Eastern Germany, so we're not giving it back. We have to take it a 4th time, damn it. We're keeping it. So, we'll go as far as it takes. Do we want to invade Europe? No. There's nothing in Europe Russia needs or wants, except peace. And if the Europeans can't provide that, then they get crushed and the army moves further until it reaches somebody that goes, okay, enough. And we don't want to play this game anymore. And it looks like the former Austro-Hungarian Empire, the states that make up the former Austro-Hungarian Empire, have figured that out already. The Austrians are still supplying, but the Conservative Party in Austria won the majority, not the overwhelming majority. But I think the next elections, unless Brussels steals them, they'll be the overwhelming majority. And they'll join the Czechs, the Slovaks, and the Hungarians. Said no, thanks. We're not playing this game again. Go find somebody else, like the Germans and the Poles. So yeah, I think this will go on until either Europe runs out of people, or Europe runs into some common sense, whichever happens first.
We do have this question from our audience. Now, this is something he's been asking us and something he's been talking about for a few weeks now. Once Russia has control of Odessa, wouldn't it be in Russia's best interest to create a 40-kilometer wide land bridge to Hungary so Russia could put troops and Oreshniks in Serbia?
Well, whether the Hungarians will allow that or not, that's a big question. No, actually, if you look at it realistically, if we're going to look at historical boundaries, it's going to piss off the Romanians. They're real hard. Romania is Wallachia. Let's begin with that. It wasn't when it was freed from the Ottoman Turks, they didn't name themselves Wallachians again, as they have historically been called. They named themselves Romanians to make a hint that we're from the Romans. We're more Roman than the Italians are. Yeah, we're Romans.
Yeah.
Well, the what's it called? I think the Brino, some of that. The province, that basically is the Romanian seashore. that all belonged to Bulgaria. The Bulgarians were genocided and wiped out after the Versailles Treaty when Romania got that piece of land. And Transylvania and these other territories were Hungarian, which same thing happened to Hungarians in that population when Romania got those lands post World War I in the Versailles Treaty. So if we look at it that way, yeah, if we rewrite the borders to historical norms, there were historical norms less than 100 years ago, yeah, that's not that big of a bridge to actually get to the Hungarians. Whether or not we put missiles in Serbia, I don't know. But I mean, if NATO goes tomorrow, collapses under its own weight, the Balkans are gonna reshape themselves very, very quickly. Yes. The Albanians sitting in Kosovo are only there because they've got the U.S. and the rest of the Euros backing up their land theft, which, by the way, is an exclusive event. It doesn't set a precedent or anything. Right. So Denmark, which is, I think, the first country to recognize that land theft, is now whining about Greenland. This is karma, baby. This is karma.
Very good point. Very good point. Everybody said Kosovo is Kosovo, and now they're worried about Greenland. Well,
yeah. It's easy when it's somebody else's land. It's not my land. Oh, well, you'd never come back to haunt me. Yeah, well, welcome to reality. So at this point, I think the Balkans they'll be convulsing in war for a while once NATO goes, as old borders are reestablished, old historical borders. Greater Serbia, Greater Croatia, at the expense of the artificial state of Bosnia. All these states, Hungary is going to go for its lands back. These people, they don't forget. And while we're at it, the Poles haven't forgotten about the Western provinces. There's huge lawsuits going on to get the land back because they've got the deeds, who owns what, from Lvov, from the other cities around there. And they've been suing with the Ukrainian government for a while. And that Ukraine is worshiping Bandera, Shukevich, two Nazis that butchered about 300,000 Poles. Not to say that the Poles didn't do anything to piss those people off. They did plenty. It's a complicated history, but I'm not going to do totally one-sided. But they're going to go after that land. I absolutely guarantee you. The moment there's no Kiev regime, the moment things are falling apart, they may not say outright it's an occupation and annexation. They'll say it's a protectorate to defend our borders or area of interest. But, spade's a spade. So it doesn't really matter what you call it.
We have a clip from yesterday's press briefing at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Moscow with Sergei Lavrov speaking exactly about Europe. Let's play this clip and then get your reaction to it.
Do you need me to play your clips again? Or can you do it yourself?
I have no idea how to do it.
How are we doing it? Do you want, which one? You want the Europe one or the NATO one?
Yeah, Europe.
If you read up on the statements by the European politicians, leaders, and Kylos and Ursula von der Leyen, Macron, Starman, Rutte, everyone, they're seriously preparing for the war with the Russian Federation. They're not hiding that fact.
Now you want the NATO one as well?
Let's do the NATO one.
We'll knock them both out.
NATO and the OSCE are Euro-Atlantic entities, and they feel a dire crisis of NATO. Currently, there are discussions ongoing within NATO whether it's time to shut it down because one NATO member intends to attack another NATO member, but that's a different story.
So what do you make of the, the LGBTQ brigade getting ready to launch a war against the Russian Federation? Are they ready? Are they up to it?
Oh, they're gonna be fabulous, baby, fabulous. They can put the little ribbons off of their main guns on their tanks. They can ride in with little rainbow fumes coming out, butterflies and unicorns as they run out. Well, okay, so let's just say this. The day that war is declared or accepted between NATO and Russia, my advice, be on vacation somewhere very far away from NATO and Brussels headquarters. Because I got a feeling, well, you're not gonna suffer, right? I mean, that's just given. You and Jesus are gonna have a nice long talk, instantaneous. You don't have to spend any money on ceremonies, because when those Oreshniks are coming in at that 4,000 degrees Celsius, 6,000 is the surface of the sun. They don't melt. They don't evaporate. They disintegrate. That level of plasma breaks up the atomic bonds between atoms and molecules, and the atoms just fly free. You can't destroy matter. Conservation of the law of conservation of matter, but that matter just flies free. And eventually, star child, you may be formed into something new. As far as for you and your soul, you and Jesus get to talk real quick, instantaneous. And everybody around it, now not too close, not at point blank, a little further away, they get melted and vaporized. Because the temperature is the temperature. But the plasma just disintegrates whatever goes through. And then you get the melting effect. And then you get like a 4.6 earthquake. So pipes, everything else underground infrastructure goes kaboom. And if you're deep enough underground, more likely you're not going to get out anyways. Because any passage above just got crushed by the waves coming in and the waves of the kinetic energy. Because there's also that kinetic drop. Do the math. Look up the formulas, do the math. I think every one of those kinetic penetrators, you don't need nuclear weapons. Every one of those kinetic penetrators is dropping gigawatts of energy. Gigajoules, I'm sorry, of energy. Gigajoules, not megajoules, not kilojoules, gigajoules. That's where you get the 4.6 earthquake in a city the size of Dnipropetrovsk from the hits. So, don't be around NATO headquarters. My advice to everybody there, or at least write your loved ones a letter and make sure it's not in your desk. There won't be a desk left either.
Make sure you're at your favorite pizza shop, like they do at the Pentagon when they're ready.
Yeah.
And if you're going to deliver it to NATO headquarters, don't. Just don't.
Don't do it.
They ain't going to tip you enough for that. But
true.
If you think about it too, look, those penetrators, they went through, they took out, we know for a fact they took out a gas storage facility, which was 50% Ukraine's gas, plus a lot of European gas. We don't know how much and who exactly. I guess there thought that they would be able to hold it hostage. It's our gas too. You won't dare. Well, we dared. And they also took out a factory, drone factory. And now the word is maybe they took out headquarters elements too, underground headquarters elements. I mean, there's 36 penetrators, for God's sakes. The fact is, one Oreshnik and Germany is SOL, baby. No gas for you, because those underground gas storage facilities are gone. That's it. They're gone. Maybe 2-3 Oreshniks, and Germany is in big trouble. And then you never know. The Yanks might accidentally blow up the Norwegian pipeline. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. Ukrainian oligarchs floating around might accidentally blow up the Norwegian pipeline.
They're all in Israel. They're all in Israel.
Of course
They're
they
just
are.
waiting for Zelensky to join them in Israel when he's finished doing whatever it is he's doing. We do have a little bit of
I don't think Zelensky will go to Israel. I'll tell you this. I don't
he'll go to
think
Miami.
Zelensky will go to Israel. It's too easy to kill him there. All reality is, it's still too easy.
That's true for the
I don't
Russians,
know
yeah,
if this is true or not, but there was a report out from an American journalist. It's being denied that Zelensky, through a shell company, bought up a giant ranch out in Montana. It's something like 60,000 acres, which makes him the 9th largest private landowner in the U.S. So I guess him and Bill Gates will be having cookouts. So I think you'd probably head somewhere further out. You can see the people trying to kill you coming from a mile.
He'll be in Greenland.
Miles
He'll go
away.
to Greenland. But we do have some breaking news from Davos. I thought it was going to be very uneventful, but it's been evacuated. Let's take a look.
Uh-oh.
Some sort of airborne agent.
Airborne agent anthrax. No.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer group of people.
COVID 3.0, hey, we got this new one. Look at that. Whoa crap. Or umbrella org, that they all turn into man-eating zombie things. So it's umbrella by another name.
They're evacuated for now, but of course we have a ton of clips from there. So wherever you want to start, Chris, this is your show today. I'm just living in it.
We have to. We gotta start. Let's start. Actually, since we're talking about Ukraine, let's actually start behind. Let's go first to the IMF.
Got it.
War. This is the best.
Still have electricity, heating subsidized. They're subsidized for a reason. We know why the country is doing it, but that has to go. You have to believe in yourself as a lion. So get up in the morning and go, row.
Roar.
If you're cold, you got to get up and roar. That'll warm you up.
Yeah, when your belly's empty and your kids are screaming, you go, I'm going to eat you now.
Yeah.
There's nothing else for you. Junior gets eaten today. Junior number 2 gets eaten tomorrow. Because, we're all lions and we roar. Yeah, these people, I don't know what to call them. Either they're that nihilistic, that absolutely butt-ass ignorant. The level of ignorance in these people and the lack of self-awareness is beyond any reality. Of course, they're counting that nobody really listens to them while they talk insane. But these people, the worst punishment for them would never be death.
No, that's too
would
easy.
never be death.
No, too easy.
That's right. The worst punishment for all these people is to strip them down to just the clothes on their back and toss them into one of these cities and say, survive. With a tracking device so they can't get out.
Yeah.
That's it. Survive. Live like the peasants, I think that's the best punishment you can ever do to these people.
That's exactly where we're headed. That's exactly where we're headed.
Now, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think Kuleba, right? His fiance has an interesting way to say it.
You're really going to do this? All right, here we go.
Цим є іграшки, які регулюють температуру, і ми їх просуваємо зараз для холодних вечорів, бо вони нагріваються до 38 градусів. Якщо немає опалення, можна обкластися вібраторами і нормально собі грітися.
Roar like a lion and then pull out your
collection of vibrators to keep warm. We can't provide you with electricity as a failed state, but we can provide you with
This is the 2026 Marie Antoinette. Not let them eat cake. Let them
warm up with vibrators.
Yeah, you could say it.
This is a sick and degenerate society.
This is degenerate. This is completely degenerate. This is Zion. This is like globo homo, like neoliberalism. This is disgusting.
It's worse than Caligula.
Chris,
And I thought
I'm trying very hard not to be crude and rude. But my military training is just killing this attempt not to be crude and rude.
You can. You can. Go ahead. Have fun.
These people, what's the best way to put it? Waste the sperm. The best part of them ran down. Well, I got to go down. Maybe a little too crude. But, yeah. And by the way, did you see her during some concert?
Yes.
Kayeba is like, look aside, she's got a dress down about right here. Her tits are about to fall out. She's like, drunk, stoned off of her mind. Oh my God. Yeah, well. You're right. No, there's a difference. I'll tell you, there's a difference. Marie Antoinette, by all historic records, was not an evil person. She was a dimwit. She was absolutely out of touch with reality. Because when she said, let them eat cake, which, by the way, the French went bankrupt because of the Americans, if we're going to go down that road. Because Benjamin Franklin convinced the King of France to back the revolution against the British, and in exchange, they would get exclusive trade rights. So by the end of the American Revolution, all the cannons, all the gunpowder, most of the muskets, all the ships, and half the Revolutionary Army were all Frenchmen. So France took out huge loans. The U.S., the Continental Congress, there was no U.S. at that moment. Once Yorktown surrendered, they ran off and they made a separate deal with the British. So the French were stuck with these, and the British got exclusive trade rights for a while. So the French were stuck with all these debts. They were stuck in a war with England that they started to help the Americans because they thought they were going to profit from it. And no, thank you. And in fact, America turned around and said, we don't owe you anything. Go bugger off. So, yeah, the French, there was the phony war that lasted for years afterwards. Nobody talks about that in American history classes. Kind of, that's the kind of verboten topics. But that, it is what it is. So the French, when the peasants, and they had also, I think 3 bad harvests in a row. So they were screwed. And the people come to Versailles and they go, we have no bread. And she quite literally, because she doesn't know any better, she's not an evil woman, she's just clueless. Go, well, why don't you eat cakes? I mean, that's what we eat. We eat cakes. Dude, have cakes. Why are you so fixated on bread? Which, is about shove a vibrator somewhere to warm yourself up. I think she's probably getting warmed up as she was telling you all this from personal experience. Yeah, these people are just, they're a box of rocks and very rounded marbles in that case. They're not exactly sharp rocks. So, but yeah, they're the people, by the way, stealing the tax serfs in the West blind and going to be living it up while everybody else faces the crash. Enjoy the ride.
That's the scary
Give them
part.
some more money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who's coming? Daddy's coming.
Oh, God.
I bet Al's already started drinking because Daddy's about to land and Daddy has needs.
We're a lost country.
Can you imagine?
That opens up with Epstein and everything. That opens up so many avenues to be crude.
So many. The jokes
God.
write themselves in this administration. We don't even need a jester.
I wouldn't even say this administration. I'd say the last 4 or 5 administrations, they pretty much write themselves. It just gets worse every time. Or maybe get jaded.
A grown man on the biggest national media saying daddy's home and daddy has needs.
Oh, yeah. And well, considering everything you're in DEI, he may be mommy. Let's not put that past him. Sorry, I'm trying to control it, but it's the army training.
We love it. But speaking of what the state of the U.S. is, let's see how Greenland sees the U.S.
So, speaking of Greenland, I'll get us into Davos a little bit. Here is Trump's thoughts on Greenland, and I want both of your thoughts.
After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it. But we gave it back. But how ungrateful are they now?
Well, I mean, you could give Western Germany back to the Germans. They'd probably be grateful.
You could give Kosovo back to the Serbs.
Yeah, Hawaii back to the Queen. Yeah, Hawaii, that little thing. There's a big question in Alaska whether that was rented out, leased out, or whether that was bought. So, there's a lot of interesting possibilities here. New Mexico may go back to old Mexico,
Well, and then they
I'm not even going to the old Confederacy.
A little bit of a tariff war, and I think that has fallen apart today, or they've made up. So here is the latest on Greenland.
The NATO meeting. Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland, and it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
Oh, that sounds like they came to a deal. He also posted that he won't be doing tariffs now. I'm not sure.
What kind of deal?
I don't know.
Okay, so somebody gave Trump a laxative. He changed his mind. Just wait till tomorrow morning.
Yeah, probably Mark Rutte was nice to him or something. but they're talking about Golden Dome systems and stuff like that.
I have a feeling that if there's an architecture for a deal, it's going to be U.S. control, like military control of Greenland. Like they can put more bases, they can put however many troops they want, things like that. And they have a little bit more say into the security architect. Maybe they take the lead on security in Greenland. It still stays under Denmark, but the U.S. basically has military control of the area. Who knows what the deal is? I think something to that effect. If it's not an outright seizing of Greenland and like it's now ours, we bought it or we took it, I could imagine something to that effect.
Chris, I don't think there's no military issues here. Look, the U.S. has been in Greenland since 1942. Yeah, It's had bases in Greenland since 1940. I mean, 2 years ago, they found a base they lost 30 or 40 years ago that was underground because the ice moved. They relocated the entrance to this underground container base. The U.S. has been there for decades, almost 100 years at this point, 80 years. So it's not about that. It is about that Gulf, that offshore oil fields on the shelf. And think about it this way. There's a Russian saying, "Аппетит появляется посреди обеда." So the hunger comes in the middle of dinner. What's next, baby? What's next? It's called Iceland. Yeah, sure, it has no oil and gas. It has lots of free energy, thermal, for, maybe your database stations. It's pretty easy to cool them, open a window. Small population, lots of rare earth minerals all over the place. No army, and it's not part of the EU. So, yeah, we're going to control everything so the Chinese and Russian tankers can't get across, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, Iceland becomes a U.S. territory. And notice, by the way, you realize Greenland's never going to be a state. It's going to be a territory, like Puerto Rico, like Guam, like the Marshall Islands, where they just blow up bombs when they feel like it, nuclear bombs. Virgin Islands. Those people don't exactly have it good. There's taxation without representation right there in those territories. They're not states. They're property, and the people living there are property. They're U.S. citizens. They can't vote. They have no representation in government, and they can do with them pretty much anything they want, whatever they want.
I think you're onto something because Trump himself has confused Iceland and Greenland a couple times, even in the speeches. So
we have it. Let me see if here we go.
Doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right? Last time. Very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being.
Daddy's back.
I can't with the daddy thing, but
regardless, has needs.
Maybe it's a Freudian slip. The Iceland, Greenland mixed up. He did that a few times today.
Yep.
I'm telling you, he's looking fast. I'm going to be writing an article, the case for Iceland. So people are like, oh, that can't be. Yeah, it can't be Greenland either, but it is. And guess what happens after Iceland? What's after Iceland? Oh, I don't know. Norway, maybe?
Norway? Also not in the EU, right?
Yeah. So, hey, who knows? Trump's a hungry man,
He has needs, that's for sure.
Definitely does.
Daddy got
we don't know them, but he's going to fulfill them at any cost.
Oh, we know them. We've seen the photos and the videos.
Now,
the files that don't exist.
Speaking of all of this, Canada, there was a report.
This new world order that's sort of coming forth with Canada saying, we're jumping ship. We're going with the East. This is Mark. I think his name is Mark, right? Carney?
Yep.
His first name Mark? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals. And we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination.
I mean, great words. I don't really know much about Carney other than Canada's a dump.
We have Trump's response, right?
Should I parse his words?
You can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so for easy speak, in much shorter terms, hi, we're Canada. We're a strumpet. We really didn't mind that our pimp was beating up on other people and stealing their gold chains. But the damn bastards turned around and said, I want my money. My hoe better have my money. Not some of it, but all of it. All my money. And all of a sudden, we don't like that anymore. She's mean. She beats us up. We want to be in a fair world. Please save us, China. Yeah, well, keep dreaming. Canada is economically. Canada is dead for technology. They allowed themselves to be plundered since the 80s and 90s, where they had a high tech IT sector, telephone sector higher than the U.S. They've allowed themselves to be fully plundered. They are basically nothing more than an overpriced resource base. So, and by doing what they're doing, they're just going to spark Trump to make them into 4 more territories. They'll never be states because nobody will let them be a state or states, but there'll be 4 more new territories to do with as you feel like.
And the Canadian Army has put together a proposal. I don't know if we have it up here, but they started looking at this and they said, well, actually, the U.S. could take us over in just a matter of days, but we can launch a Afghan Mujahideen-style resistance to the United States occupation.
They could.
They could. I mean, of course. Could you imagine all those forests, all that land?
Yeah. Guerrilla warfare in the Arctic tundra. Sign me up. I love the cold. You could go back to Syria, Chris. I'm going to the tundra.
Wait till the Americans shut down the beer manufacturing, and you take out the beer and you take out the hockey matches. I don't know, man. That's a morale blow from hell for these guys.
For sure. Let's see Trump's reaction to all of this.
I don't know which one. Oh, here it is.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your prime minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Canada lives because the British dropped 2 guard divisions in 1811, in December of 1811, into Toronto, and they marched on the U.S. Army sitting in Niagara Village. The U.S. Army fled. This is December 1811. But before they fled in minus 30-degree weather, they pulled all the civilians out in their night clothes, threw them in the field, and burned down the houses. So basically, they wiped out the whole civilian population. After which the British were screaming, "Remember Niagara Village," as they were burning down every American settlement on the Great Lakes. Probably the reason they also burned down Washington, Detroit, and not Detroit, Boston, and quite a few other cities. Little revenge thing. And it was America that started that war because they wanted to get Canada next. Problem is all the loyalists to the king who were murdered, who had their property destroyed during the American Revolution, they all retreated up to Canada. They said, hell no. Just a little bit of history. I'll probably get flamed for that, but, oh well.
Who cares? We get flamed all the time.
Yeah,
who cares? Where do you want to? All right, let's see what the without us, you're nobody. I think he's talking to NATO. We'll see.
But I realized that without us, it's not Switzerland anymore. Without us, it's not any of the countries that are represented here. And we want to work with the countries. We want to work with them. We're not looking to destroy them. I could have said 39, 40%. I could have said I want a 70% tariff, then we make money with Switzerland. But Switzerland would have been probably destroyed, financially destroyed. I don't want to do that. And I love Europe, and I want to see Europe go good. But it's not heading in the right direction.
He's here to help. I'm from the U.S. government. I'm here to help.
The worst words you could ever, the worst 11 words you could ever hear. But, you know, he is telling the truth. Europe is a shithole that's self-destructed. It's a totalitarian pseudo-state with an unelected government that can, quote, sanction people within its pseudo-territories, which, you know, I'm not going to talk about the 20s and the 30s, particularly the early 30s in the Soviet Union, where the Bolsheviks are pretty brutal. But as the Soviet Union aged on, there were no death camps. Well, there were no death camps to begin with. There were mass executions. There were gulags, which were work camps, and some of those gulags were just absolutely horrible conditions, while other gulags like Sukhoi and MiG gulags were university campuses. So very, very, very differently from gulag to gulag. But come the mid-1950s, late 1950s and on, the Soviet Union just exiled people. Go away. You don't want to be part of us. You've been enough of a racket. Solzhenitsyn's a prime example. They drove him to the border. Go away. Do what you want. You're no longer here. Europe, on the other hand, well, Europe, Russia's 1/3 of Europe. The EU-SSR, on the other hand, they don't want to let you go. In fact, you're a non-entity. So sanctioned for no crime, because it's not a crime what these people are doing. They're exercising their legal constitutional rights. They're being sanctioned for inappropriate use of their constitutional rights. So the sanctions, which are signed off by the unelected government in Brussels, are now going to tell you how to properly live. We're there to educate you by banning you from working, from buying, from selling, from getting gifts, from having bank accounts. Go away and die now. You're a non-entity in Europe. So they could just exile these people, but no. That would be, that'd be too merciful. That'd be too much like the Soviet Union, at least the second half of the Soviet Union. We're just going to let you die slowly of starvation. And anybody that does anything to help you, they get the same plague on them, and they get to starve too, and their children get to die. Meanwhile, we're taking as much money back on kickbacks from Ukraine as we can possibly hoard, and investing all over the globe in our stolen Ukrainian funds. Have fun.
Well, you mentioned sanctions as a weapon. Now they're saying the quiet part out loud. Here's the other gay that is running us. Why are a bunch of maniacal homosexuals in charge of the United States? It's like maniacal homosexuals and Zionists. That's all we have. That's synonymous. There we go.
I want to say about sanctions.
Global homo.
Something else you've been working on, of course. What are you planning there in terms of Iran and the impact there? Do sanctions actually work? And the same question with regard to 500% secondary sanctions or tariffs on countries who purchase energy products from Russia.
Okay, so two things there. There are treasury sanctions. And if you look at a speech that I gave at the Economic Club of New York last March, I said that I believe the Iranian currency was on the verge of collapse, that if I were an Iranian citizen, I would take my money out. President Trump ordered Treasury and our OFAC division, Office of Foreign Asset Control, to put maximum pressure on Iran, and it's worked. Because in December, their economy collapsed. We saw a major bank go under. The central bank has started to print money. There is a dollar shortage. They are not able to get imports. And this is why the people took to the street. So this is economic statecraft. No shots fired.
So sanctions as a weapon.
The U.S. Or is he talking about Iran?
He's talking about Iran, yeah.
It sounds more like the U.S. There's sovereign debt crisis. There's the everything bubble. There's the U.S. is now issuing 2-week debts instead of 20-year treasuries. Shall we go on? Shall we just walk down that list?
Yeah. Well, It's the boomerang. Talk about the boomerang, the imperial boomerang. So here it is, of course.
But that brings us to the other region I really wanted to talk to both of you about, to the Middle East, the West Asia. Lindsey Graham I think he might still be in Israel. I'm not sure. I think he's moved there at this point. But he was freaking out on Twitter about the Kurds. Then he had like a tweet that he then deleted. Here's that tweet. This is a very interesting tweet. It is my firm belief that if the Syrian government takes over the prisons housing the worst of the worst ISIS members, it would be akin to ISIS guarding ISIS. President Trump and others fought too hard to destroy the ISIS caliphate for it to come back. To me, it would be a no-brainer for America to use military force to slap an ISIS jailbreak. Time is of the essence. He also posted asking for help for the Kurds, or like expressing that they were being abandoned, and then said he's the second politician that said he wants the sanctions, or no, sorry, the other one was Levin, so not really a politician, just plays one on his podcast. They both said they wanted the sanctions reintroduced and put back in place over Syria. The situation is getting completely out of hand. Here's a video from Raqqa. We can't show you the videos of the Kurds because they've been absolutely massacred, beheaded. There's heads split in half. Some of the most violent videos I've ever seen. Here's the Turkish-Syria border. Kurds trying to get home. Here's a CNN report also but in Turkey.
Yine Deirizor aşiretinden gelenler, düzeltiyoruz. Bu grupsa Hama'dan gelen grup. Teçhizatları bakın şu.
Also have videos of people obviously opening up the prisons and then thanking Turkey. These are Jolani forces. This situation is really, really interesting. And then I discovered today this interesting post from CENTCOM. We're moving the ISIS detainees to Iraq. That's very interesting. Immediately following a withdrawal of American forces from Iraq. So with all of this information out there, and I want to get both of your thoughts, and maybe you two can have somewhat of a back and forth, because this is something that you two are much more well-versed in than me. I only participated in the liberation of Raqqa the first time when we pretended to be ISIS enemies.
And I was on the ground. You're supporting the other assets, and I was on the ground fighting for 9 months in Syria. Of course, for me, as I posted today on X, and I've been speaking to a lot of people, almost 10 years ago, we spoke to the PYD, SDF, YPG administration and military leadership, and we said that the best course of action was to ally with the Russians to take more.
I have the wonderful, honorable Hassan Nasrallah.
Yes.
The Oracle. Let's play it.
Put him.
في ميزانية البنتاغون مثل ما قرينا في ما يقارب فوق 500 مليون دولار إلى 750 مليون دولار تحت عنوان قوات سوريا الديمقراطية وتحت عنوان وحدات الحماية الكردية. بيوصل يمكن المبلغ ل 750 مليون دولار في عام واحد 2018. هذا من شان شو؟ مشان ديمقراطية في سوريا ولا مشان حماية الأكراد الذين للأسف يجب، وأنا أنصحهم بين هلالين، أن يتعظوا من كل التجارب السابقة. الأمريكيون يستخدمونكم أدوات في صراعهم في معركتهم مع النظام في سوريا، مع الجمهورية الإسلامية، مع روسيا، مع محور المقاومة، حتى في جوانب أخرى. وفي نهاية المطاف حيشتغلوا الأمريكان مصلحتهم ويتخلوا عنكم ويبيعوكم في سوق النخاسة.
So of course, as an ethnic Kurd, being there, I simply told everybody, you remember who sold chemical weapons to Saddam Hussein to bomb Iranians during the Iran-Iraq war and bomb us Kurds in Halabja? Oh, yeah, that same America now is saying, oh no, we're with you. We're going to support you. We're going to be with you until the end. And I said, no, The only person to ever help Kurds in history was Russia and the Soviet Union. Why? They are the ones, Russian Empire, and also later Soviet Union had an indigenous Kurdish population in the Caucasus. So it was part of the program of ethnic groups. It had its own newspaper, its own language. Still, Kurds have a very prominent place within Russian society. Some of my friends work in ministries in Russia who are ethnic Kurds. And so one of the big arguments was, why are you going with the US now? And they said, oh, the US now, we're going to provide some democracy. Now our ideology has changed. We're no longer Marxist-Leninists. We're trying to appeal to the West, and we have women fighters. And I said, they don't care about women fighters. They don't care. They put it on the newspapers to sell a couple newspapers and sell this sham to go after Assad. Assad's women are totally there too. There's no problem. I mean, he's not having, nobody wears hijab there, basically forced or anything like that. There's no Sharia law. It's a secular state. They said, yes, but America will do things for us. Meanwhile, that speech of Nasrallah, of Shahid Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, was when? February 2018. I left in the fall of 2017. In the fall of 2017 was the pivotal time. It was the time where the SDF and the PYD leadership decided to go with the West more than with Russia. And basically, SDF leadership went to Moscow, met with Shoigu, afterwards decided to go with the US after intense pressure by the coalition for the fight against ISIS. And then what happened? Russia was in Afrin. The US was in the other cantons. Russia eventually said, okay, you've made your bed with the Americans. We withdraw our peacekeepers. Turkey came into Afrin and took that territory. Then the Kurds are now stuck with the US. Still, there was appeals to go with Damascus. They decided not to because of intense pressure and also factionalism within the PKK. Meanwhile, the PKK leadership in the mountain was supportive of Damascus. Don't forget, the PKK was the PKK because of Hafiz al-Assad. Hafiz al-Assad provided the bases, the weapons, and some of the financing that also came via the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc to the PKK, who fought against Israel. Meanwhile, now Kurds are saying, come save us, Israel. Aha! Israel knows what Kurds did with the PFLP. Israel knows that the Kurds took the side of the Palestinians in the Lebanese civil war. So there's no love lust here, especially for the Zionists with the Kurds. They don't care about the Kurds. They care only about their strategy and their power. So all intents and purposes, when I left, and it was because of the US really, and its and the change in ideology and position in terms of where things were headed, this is the result. This is the logical result of everything. We tried very hard to try to position the party and the military leadership to be more with Russia. It didn't end up working. Some of us got medals from Russia for it, but in the end, the Kurds lost out everything. When Russia could have provided security on the borders with a united force in Damascus under President Assad and could have protected the entire region and probably could have expelled the jihadists and reasserted control over the entire territory. Instead, what happened? The Kurds were used to starve the central government in Damascus of their oil, of their wheat, of their important border crossings with Iraq and to the north. And there you have it. That's the sad history of how this turned out. The sad thing is that Kurds have been betrayed multiple times in history by the United States, and still they made the same mistake. So you have to say, that's why I'm not a separatist. I support Islamic Republic of Iran as an Iranian Kurd, because with them we are strong. Without them, we are nothing. We are going to be used by every power in the region for their own purposes and left to the mountains. And even the mountains are not so friendly anymore to us. So that's my take on all of this.
You know, I don't blame Israel for pursuing its own policies. Every country and every people should be pursuing what's best for them. But you need to look very cold and very logically at A, who you're dealing with, B, what their track record is, and C, at what point do they no longer have any interest in you because you're no longer interesting to them. When the jihadists were murdering Orthodox and Catholic Christians, the Kurds didn't mind. They were sitting in their own territories. But they never thought that this was going to come back to them. Of course, it has. And wait, the Turks are going to be moving in soon, too. This isn't over yet. There's going to be an extermination of anything that looks Kurdish in Syria and probably going to spill over into northern Iraq. There's some Kurds on the side of Erdogan, so we'll see. Maybe Erdogan keeps him around, but there is no chance of a Kurdish state. That opportunity went away. It's gone. And the jihadists, the Americans have always supported Islamic jihadists. When Trump is talking about we killed 50,000 ISIS, no, Russia killed 50,000 ISIS. Until Russia intervened, there were 3-4 kilometer long trains of oil tankers heading into Turkey with stolen Syrian oil. All of that got to burn. Russia came in there and just bombed the living crap out of all of these Islamic jihadists. And in the fight, the 2-week fight, it was more like a 1-week fight, when the Assad government fell. And Assad's government fell, let's be honest about it, because Assad wanted to be loved by the West. And he got really loved by the West. He got about as loved by the West as Libya's Gaddafi got loved by the West. How much do you want to be loved? Because they're going to give you a lot of loving. Assad and his government got a lot of loving. He turned away from Russia. He turned away from China. He turned away from Iran. Luckily, Iran didn't fully run into this, but at one point in the summer, Iran was heading down the same path with liberals that refused to sign the treaty with Russia. It was signed the day after. It was a very watered-down defensive treaty to the point where it's not even clear what the hell anything means in it. Just gobbledygook words. Russia want to sign a full defense treaty like with North Korea. Hard defense treaty. You ask us to come help defend you, we come help defend you, and vice versa. There's no ifs and or buts about it. It's not Article 5, we'll consult and see what we can provide. It's we need help, we'll send troops and we'll send equipment. The Iranians at point, because of the liberals, they refused and they almost got destroyed. Things have turned around, thankfully, and are heading in the right direction, which was why Trump is screaming, I'll exterminate them all, I'll blow them all off the ground, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That area has a potential to really start World War III going. I think at least a few people in Trump's demented corner have some understanding of that. And America does not have the stomach for what it's going to come. You imagine America's 56,000 American soldiers are within short to medium range missiles, ballistic missiles, drones, and so on. You imagine the American population gets hit with 12, 15, 20,000 corpses in 1 day, 2 days from a mass sally, and another 30,000 injured. Can you imagine what that's the population? People were going nuts about a few hundred people killed here and there, or a few dozen people killed here and there in Iraq and Syria. And by the way, the U.S., considering half the Iraqi army never left its barracks because it bought out, the generals were bought out by the CIA, it still took the U.S. 22 days to get to Baghdad. Think about that. And the U.S. Army was a whole different animal in 2002 and 2003 than it is today. I mean, can you imagine that sinking feeling when those bases are burning, their corpses and parts of corpses laying all over the place, and the ceremonial dirges are at the airports? Yeah, and at that point, Americans might suddenly realize war's real, baby. It's real. It's not a few people you don't know getting killed in the U.S. Army as volunteers. It's a lot of people getting killed. And by the way, your little Johnny, yeah, baby, get him in shape because he's going to be going. When they start talking about, boots on the ground in Iran, okay, yeah, one of the most mountainous countries in the world with 90 million population, 3 times the size of Iraq. Sure, what are you going to invade from? I mean, the reality of this is just insane. It's Americans that can't find Iran on a map, talking as if they know something on these news organizations. Making asses of themselves for anybody that has even half a clue. Here, I'll give you a buck by the other half the clue. But for the Kurds, there's a saying in the South, some people's job in life is to be an abject lesson to everybody else on what not to do. And in this case, the Kurds have joined up in the big club of people who have decided to be an abject lesson to other people on what not to do. But the unfortunate part is there's still plenty of fools who are just waiting to get on the American teeth. The Ukrainians are a prime example. The Armenians are a prime example. The Azerbaijanis look like they're a prime example. These people, they think Uncle Sam's going to come die for you? Are you friggin' insane? You're not worth it. You're meat to the slaughter for whatever's needed. And when you're done, that's it. You get tossed out the back dumpster for the dogs to chew on. That's it. That's the reality of it. But they don't want to face it because it's ego. It's I'm too important. I'm not like all these other people. We're the very important ones. Their whole foreign policy is going to be hanging on us. No, it's not. And the moment you're done, they pull you off and they throw you in the garbage.
Yep, it's
if
true.
You get the reference.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
So now we're seeing.
It's unfortunate to see this happen, but
here's a Trump on Azerbaijan.
It's very unfortunate to see
And I settled other wars that were. Vladimir Putin called me Armenian, Azerbaijan.
Conviction that Azerbaijan. I love him. So we actually
listen. Trump.
Syria is descending into civil war.
Trump
The Christians have started arming themselves and forming militias as well as the Alawites. So I think this was the goal, actually. I have to just figure that was the goal the entire time.
Oh, Al-Jilani will more likely. Either he'll align himself fully with the Turks, or eventually either the Turks will get rid of him or the Israelis will get rid of him. I think it's hard to serve two masters.
I think he's on the way out. I don't think he's going to last.
I don't think so either.
Well, Marco Rubio, there was a clip from Marco Rubio who said, we don't know how long Al-Jilani is going to last. So flat out, there's a threat on Al-Jilani. I'm sure that poor Petraeus isn't going to be able to have him on stage to do fellatio on again. I just wait for him to get on his knees. Are you having enough time to detox, the stress? Are you cutting up babies' throats to feel good and revived again? Can I lick your hands and get the Christian baby blood off them? This is what you're looking at. It's like, God bless it. This is it's past disgusting. I mean, it's insane. It's a clown circus.
And speaking of rebranding Jilani,
you want to play I'll play it. It's a long one. Yeah. Sit tight.
Starting in 2023, a British non-government organization which specializes in conflict resolution invited me to help them bring this guy out of the terrorist world and into regular politics. And at first, I have to tell you, I was very leery of going. I sort of had images of me in an orange jumpsuit with a knife to my throat. But after talking to several people who had gone in, and one of whom had met him, I decided to take the chance. And so the first time I met him, this guy's name is nom de guerre, was Abdulkader Jolani, but his actual name is Ahmed Shara, which he only revealed to the world after he captured Damascus in the Blitzkrieg of December 2024, about 5 months ago. First time I met him, I sat down next to him, and I'm literally as close as I am to Roy, and I said, this is all in Arabic, I said, never in a million years could I imagine that I would be sitting next to you. Long beard, thin fatigues. And he looked at me, he speaks very softly, and he said, Walla ana, me neither. And we went on and actually had a pretty civil conversation. I share this because he said something which really piqued my interest. He never apologized for the terrorist attacks in Iraq or in Syria, although there were many fewer in Syria, never apologized. But he also said, now I am governing an opposition-held area of northwest Syria, and I am learning that the tactics and the principles that I was following in Iraq do not apply when you actually have to govern 4 million people. And they had 2 million residents of that area of Syria, and then another 2 million refugees who had come there from other parts of Syria. So they had a population of 4 million. He said, I am learning that to govern, you have to make compromises. I was very struck by that. So that was in March 2023, just over 2 years ago. We went back a second time in September.
So, this has all been sort of planned for quite some time.
From the beginning. from the beginning. This was the plan.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Yeah, look, so this guy has no problem, moral or ethical. I don't think he has any ethics. Turning a murderer, who, by the way, killed Americans on video, beheaded American soldiers, into a quote respectable head of state. I mean, just let's bring it out the way it is. So to these guys, dead American servicemen are no more important than any old piece of chicken or crusty pizza that's been laying around. We can toss them out and forget all about them. I mean, that's what he's basically saying. We don't give a damn about these people. We don't believe in justice. We believe whatever's paying me in my pocket and buying me my next Lexus.
Oh yeah.
Tom Barak, human rights chief of Syria, said Trump created a disaster for our region by appointing Tom Barak as special envoy. He is covering up for al-Jilani and giving him a green light to commit crimes against Kurds, Druze, and Alawites. Tom Barak responded by saying we have no, basically he said that today the situation has fundamentally changed in Syria. Syria now has an acknowledged central government that has joined the global coalition to defeat ISIS as its 90th member in late 2025. I didn't know that. Signaling a westward pivot and cooperation with the U.S. on counterterrorism. This shifts the rationale for the U.S. SDF partnership. The original purpose of the SDF as the primary anti-ISIS force on the ground has expired, as Damascus is now both willing and positioned to take over security responsibilities, including control. This is why Lindsey Graham had to delete that post, including control of ISIS detention facilities and camps. Recent developments show the U.S. actively facilitating this transition rather than prolonging a separate SDF role. We have engaged extensively with the Syrian government and the SDF to secure an agreement signed on January 18th. It integrates SDF fighters into the military, blah, 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 blah. The U.S. has no interest in long-term military presence. It prioritizes defeating ISIS remnants, supporting reconciliation, and advancing. Then why are you moving ISIS to Iraq to keep them safe? Just kill them.
Well, they're not moving to keep them safe. It's the same thing as IGIL suddenly. IGIL suddenly pops up in Arab IGIL suddenly pops up in Afghanistan. Why? Because we're going to lose. We're going to leave, so we have to leave house. The chaos as much as in the house as we can. So this is the same thing. Iraq's elected government supposedly support democracy, which we don't obviously never have. And democracy doesn't ever exist anyways. It's mob rule. It's republics. But the Republic of Iraq has asked for 10 years now to get the hell out, and they've been told, go bounce somewhere further. And now it looks like the Americans are going to pull out and just leave a bunch of ISIS there. Kind of what happened last time when ISIS all of a sudden appears, or IGIL, or whatever the hell they're calling themselves this week, and overran northern Iraq, and the West had to come right back in there instead of leaving Iraq. So they're mercenaries. That you can bounce around anywhere you want. There's always fresh women and children to murder. Have fun, gentlemen, and let us lick the blood off your hands too.
So just so our viewers know, that was Robert Ford in that video. He was the U.S. ambassador to Syria for 3 years, from 11 to 14, and he's talking about British NGO Intermediate. I guess they do rehabilitation of terrorists and whatnot. It's ran and founded by Jonathan Powell, who is now the National Security Advisor to the UK. I also saw a video today that I think we mentioned it a little bit earlier about the Balkans, but they were talking about, with the destruction of the Kurds and the things that are going on in Turkey, that these ISIS members can go all the way up into France if they really want to. And then this is perfect for Israel to utilize them to terrorize Europe in such a interest. It's just such a fantastic, for lack of a better word, geolocation. They're in a perfect location now. The terror factory is no longer Iraq. The terror factory is now Syria. Syria used to be an importer of jihad. Now they are an exporter of jihad. And this plays into the same thing that you both mentioned earlier with the Balkan wars. Probably coming up. Even Vucic said war is coming. I'm arming Serbia with the most advanced weapons right now. This is really serious. I'm not a Kurd.
Let him have.
I'm not a Kurd fanatic. I'm not a Kurd enemy either. I've never had taken issue with the Kurds, but the destruction of them in that area seems to have a very serious ripple effect for the total region.
For sure.
Look, first of all, Bosnia has been a nest of terrorism for the last 30 years. Let's just begin with that. Starting with Izetbegovic, who was ready to sign a peace accord from Milosevic, and then was told, you don't sign it by Holbrooke, and we'll make you the first Islamic jihadist state in Europe. And that was done with American backing, and still is. Kosovo is a second Islamic jihadist state. But for the Europeans, these guys are second fiddle. Wait till a million of Ukrainians with weapons and no food and no money start flooding into the diaspora. You're talking about a mafia that the Europeans are not psychologically or genetically prepared to deal with. They're going to be the average European male is about to become a, pardon my French, Ukrainian bitch. He's going to get slapped upside the head so hard he's going to be taking care of their needs, and the European governments are going to be right behind them, because they have nothing on them with these people are flooding in. That's why Russia's like, so you want Ukraine to join the EU? By all means, have them. Have fun, especially with Schengen. They flood you with GMO wheat and everything, destroy your agroeconomy throughout Europe. And then the mob will just rain terror up and down Europe. Everything Europe deserves. Well, the non-Russian, non-Belarus Europe. Everything they deserve for everything that they've done. Sorry, I don't have a soft spot for them. They have helped murder my people for the last 4 years actively, and longer than that, because they sponsored the Islamic Jihad in Chechnya, the first one and the second one. They've sponsored a lot of things. So, honestly, life's a bitch. And the chickens do come home to roost. And they're coming home. They've been multiplying, those chickens. They're coming home, and they're coming home big time, Bubby. And
this is so true. And it's already started. I messaged the producer earlier with a video out of Germany where the Kurds in Germany are beating the crap out of a Syrian restaurant. And no, I didn't see any people get hurt, but they were just vandalizing the restaurant. And I was like,
they're fighting with Turks back and forth.
Exactly. And this is to be expected, but this is part of like Zionist / American foreign policy. This is the Yanan plan playing out in Europe. They moved all of these refugees up there. Guys, there's no mistaking who those agencies were and who they were working for. They flood Europe, and now we have literal civil war in Europe, and no Europeans are even involved. It's all the refugees and the diasporoids. And this is exactly what they wanted.
Chris, I'm a little bit under the weather. It's like 1:30 at night right now.
We're good.
So
We're good. We're through everything. I literally just messaged Chris and said, you can wrap it.
It's been this Hong Kong flu 2.0. The first one was much easier.
Any final thoughts, and where can our viewers and listeners find you?
Stanislav Krapivnik on X, at Mr. Slavic Man, Slavic with a K on YouTube. Stas on the Russian Telegram. Stas was there on the English Telegram. And I got a Substack too. Zmei Garinich. So
perfect.
We will definitely have to have you on again when you're feeling 100%.
Yes, we hope you feel better. Thank you so much. We got to do it again. It was awesome.
Do it again.
It was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
That was awesome. I love him. He's funny.
Great. He's great. Fantastic.
He reminds me of Andrei Martynov a little bit. Super funny, but no sugar. He might have even less sugar than Andrei. He's funny. I like him. He was so based, very, very military minded. That was great. Great.
To the super chats here.
Super chats for Stanislav. In 1946, famous visionist Edgar Cayce had a vision that Russia would be the final safe haven for Christians, and judging by, he does look right. I mean, Stanislav is dropped, but he does appear right. We've talked about the destruction of the Orthodox bell in the diaspora, the Orthodox Christian diaspora, for lack of a better term, and it does seem that way, that the only place where Orthodox Christians are actually truly safe is Russia. Seriously.
Well, good to be here. That's all I gotta say.
I hate you. What does GG mean? Does that mean good going?
It could be. I thought it was George Galloway, but
George Galloway. We love George Galloway.
We do.
Could be. I'd call your grandma. I used to call one of my grandmas Gigi. I know that it's like a Zoomer. It's Zoomer thing. I think it means good going or good game. Good game usually. Okay, good game. Okay. Good game, everybody. All right. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Any more guest suggestions, please hit us up. We always listen to your guys' recommendations. And we have a new writer on our Substack. And DDG Espanol on Telegram is growing. So if you are an Espanol speaker, tu hablas Espanol, I could speak a little bit. Pequeño. Then please hit up the DDG Espanol.
Perfect.
That's
good
it.
To see you. Have a good night. Be safe.
Oh, we have an outro. This is Putin's reaction to the Board of Peace, which we didn't get to. Hopefully we get to talk about it again on Sunday. Here's Putin's full reply.
Что касается Совета мира, мы действительно получили личное обращение президента Соединенных Штатов Америки Дональда Трампа с приглашением присоединиться к создаваемой по его инициативе новой международной структуре – Совету мира. В этой связи хотел бы прежде всего поблагодарить президента США за это предложение. Мы всегда поддерживали и поддерживаем любые усилия, направленные на укрепление международной стабильности. Отмечаем также и вклад действующей администрации США в поиске решения по урегулированию украинского кризиса. Что касается нашего участия в Совете мира, то МИДу России поручено изучить поступившие к нам документы, проконсультироваться на этот счет с нашими стратегическими партнерами, и только после этого мы сможем дать ответ на переданное нам приглашение. В сделанном нам предложении речь прежде всего идет об урегулировании на Ближнем Востоке и о поиске возможных путей решения насущных проблем палестинского народа и разрешения острейших проблем гуманитарной ситуации в секторе Газа. В этой связи отмечу главное. Главное заключается в том, чтобы весь процесс благоприятно сказался на долгосрочном урегулировании палестино-израильского конфликта, основанного на соответствующих решениях Организации Объединенных Наций, и чтобы были учтены, необходимо, чтобы были учтены неотъемлемые нужды и пожелания палестинцев. Это касается реконструкции сектора Газа и его базовой социальной инфраструктуры, систем здравоохранения, водоснабжения, налаживания бесперебойного обеспечения продовольствия. Поэтому уже сейчас, даже до решения нами вопроса об участии в составе и в самой работе Совета мира, учитывая особые отношения России с палестинским народом, мы могли бы, я думаю, направить в Совет мира $1 миллиард США из замороженных еще при прежней администрации США российских активов.